Hey, good morning. We're live. Welcome to Wednesday morning. If you weren't here earlier, you missed it. I was ready to go. Hope yesterday was awesome. Hope tomorrow's even better. We're going to talk about today though, and how to win today. But you know what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a few things. First of all, let me tell you this. This is a magical day for some people if you can take advantage of it, first of all. Okay. It's the day before a long weekend. Okay. You can become a force multiplier for you. If you show up today and you work hard, extra hard, add 2 to whatever you're doing today, 2 calls, 2 hours, 2 follow-ups, 2 whatevers, just a little bit more because you're off for the next 4 days, right? Unless, of course, a buyer calls, that isn't, whatever, different story. So you're going to be off for the next little while. So don't give yourself off today. The feeling's going to be, let's just mail it in today, make it a 5-day weekend. You know what's better than a 4-day weekend? A 5-day weekend, a 4.5, right? Don't do that. Punch it hard until the end today, because then you're going to go home, and when you're feeling good, a long weekend feels even better, okay? So don't give yourself the out today. You've been working hard both days already this week. No, you're working 3 days this week, for Pete's sake. Work the whole day. Work hard today, and you're going to feel the thing. Now, this is going to transition into something else that I am passionate about. And it's being able to retire on your own terms, right? And it's coming in everywhere. It's coming into our politics with Joe Biden. It just occurred to me, right? It's coming into Jeff retired 2 days ago. I'm retiring, whenever that happens, probably in the next 25 years, whatever, right? But we're all at somewhere on that continuum, okay? And we're all going to retire. It's just, how are we going to retire? I guess is what it comes down to. And it came up because Jeff is getting a lot of, calls and emails and texts. Oh, I heard you retired. Congratulations. Blah, all that stuff that you'd expect that comes with it, right? Can you babysit my grandkids? You got time. But whatever, right? All that stuff. But also there's I don't know, what you tell me, Jeff, what is surprising you a little bit? Maybe not even surprising you. What is opening your eyes?
Okay, this is real early. I mean, I just actually not.
Yeah, I'm hitting them off just
for day 2, day 3 of supposed retirement. My name is still on the brokerage, just paperwork. But it's just scary to go from the money comes in from your job to the money comes in from other places.
But here's what caught my ear. He's telling me some stories about some people he talked to, and they're saying, wow, that's really cool. I'm summarizing here or paraphrasing. That's really cool. You're retiring. How can you do that?
Yeah.
How, how you just stop coming in. But how can you afford to do that?
I hear this a lot. I really do. I'm going to work for the rest of my life.
Yep. I've said it.
And that's the intention, right? That if you intend to do that, probably will. But if you intend, so we were talking about this. So if you intend to retire and you start looking at it a different way, you will achieve that goal too, I believe. So what happened? We were talking. That's what we were laughing about. There's a guy, Mark remembered his name, called Carlton Sheets, and he was the no money down financing guy that started in the
way back
TV commercials. Probably in the 70s, yeah. And I started looking at that. And we did that in a very small town. I bought a house that was about $28,000. It was a 100-year-old house.
Hold on. Here's how that even came up, you guys. So somebody said to him, you're retiring. How do you do that? You invested in real estate, didn't you? Right? You were smart and invested in real estate. That's how you can do this.
Yeah.
And so Jeff and I were talking about it. Why does everybody why do so many? I'm going to work forever. I'll just never retire. I'll just work forever. I'll never have enough to invest. So I'm going to go on this trip and live now. And I'll just work forever. It's going to suck when I get older or whatever. Maybe I'll win the lottery. all that stuff. And it's a mentality. It's a discipline that you have to build. If you have 2 dimes to rub together, you have enough to start the process if you give it enough time, right? And so that's how we got to Carleton Sheets, because Jeff was saying, I never had any freaking money. I grew up from a blue collar, but I read Carleton Sheets. If you don't know who he is, look him up, right? And so what was his? No money down, buy a house and no money down, right?
Yeah, no money down financing. And it's just a learning curve is all it was. Just study that, start looking at houses, which I did every day at lunchtime while I had my other job. Look for houses, I didn't even know anything. I wasn't a real estate agent, knew nothing about it anyhow. But it seemed like the logical thing, because in my world at the time.
You weren't even a realtor at this point.
No. Oh, no. I told John we were blue collar all the way, and I just somehow got lucky enough to hang out with and work for some people that were wealthy. Changed my whole mindset on.
Give you an exposure to different mindset?
Yes, on what it would take to get to a wealth structure where I worked for a guy, and they had maids and they had people taking care of everything of theirs. And that's all. So I wanted that. I wanted more than what I had at the time is all. Was the inspiration for it to get trying it. And then Tammy and I bought this old house. It was not a good buy. Did many things wrong. We fixed the house up. And then I got transferred, so I had to sell it. Didn't make any money on it, but I learned so much. So much that gave me the confidence to.
So hold on. Let me pause right here. So let me just be clear. You didn't buy your first house for 40 grand and then turn around and sold it 18 months later for $390 million. What? That's not real estate. What? No, because the second one's not real estate. The first thing is you buy the POS. You learn, you figure out some things, you get hurt, but you only get hurt a little because it's a little. And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And you end up with this checkbook as a result of your learning and doing. And the big difference here is thinking about, planning to, going to, look out pretty quick, next year, next week, next month. At some point, you got to frickin' do. Is that fair to say, Jeff? That's the other thing we talked about, right?
Yeah, it scares you. If your first ones really scares you, and then they become easier all the way through. But what happens is on this real estate thing, you learn so much along the way. It makes you show up for every day for work, and you don't even realize you're becoming wealthy, and you are. You don't even know it. I remember, and John and I talked about this too. And this wasn't a part of any talk we were supposed to have, is your significant other matters.
Oh God. Yes.
Really matters in this, because it's a lot of work, a team effort. Tammy ran my wife ran all the rentals, and then we started buying rentals, and I bought $49,000 townhomes.
Because you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, bought 8 of them at one time. And the guy that sold them to me, he said, I just made you wealthy. He actually said that to me. The dude said, I just made you rich and you don't even know it yet.
How great.
And I thought, wow, that's a cocky statement to make to somebody. I'm scared to death. I'm just spending this money,
But you know what? Here, I'm going to say this. That's exactly why we do this call every morning, because we're going to make you all rich, right? From what you hear, the nuggets, the inspiration, the whatever, because you're going to use this income you make from selling real estate to invest in properties such that you can retire if you want to. And you're not the person saying, oh, I really wish I would have. We're not about that here. We're winning the day today.
Right? I think the point that Jeff just made, one of the points is knowledge. You talked about from the very beginning, I knew nothing. And even as you were doing it, I knew nothing. And you make mistakes, but the reality is you get the knowledge. And by coming to this every day, you're getting the knowledge so that you can drop down the fear factor and do it faster and ask questions and get answers. And that's a big leverage. That's a big jumping off point that you didn't have, Jeff. And a lot of people, when they first start investing, don't have. You don't have to make the same mistakes.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think about these eight townhouses, and the newspaper calls me the next day, asks me, who are you and why did you buy these 8 properties? They wrote an article in the Destin paper about it. It was really weird. I didn't know.
New slumlord in town?
Slumlord coming to take over.
Yeah, it was
Sung to the tunes of the Eagles. There's a new kid in town.
Yeah, right. But the cool thing is, it took time, right? I don't know if that's cool. It took time, right?
Yeah.
This is a journey. You didn't wake up with that big, massive Gulf front gazillion dollars.
Oh, I know. And then John and I talked about this, and John can share. We were when I ran into Gary Keller in 2001. He started talking about the cost of ownership, which is, at that time it was like 10% down. So for 10% of the price of a property, you could take control of the entire property and get to make a lot of money from a rental standpoint on it.
He's still talking about that. It's great.
I never thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what else. You're in the stock market. You got to cough up all the money to buy the stocks, right? Unless you're going to try options or do some things I don't do. But the knowledge that it takes to fool around in the stock market versus the knowledge that it takes to learn how to buy real estate and rent it, the real estate thing's a lot safer.
Much safer. You take $200,000 and drop it in the stock market, it can be gone the next day.
Yeah.
Real estate is much slower, both for winning and losing. And you can see it coming and going, and your losses are a percentage, a fraction of the cost of what you control.
And I think if you have a mindset here, because, I think I spent about $50,000 to get a degree, a master's degree. I went on to create in earnings well over $1 million if I look back over my career. But that was a sunk cost. And Jeff, your first thing you said, I didn't make much money, but you bought an education for much cheaper than a master's degree. And I think that you've got to have a mindset of, I'm not going to hit the lottery on everything, but I'm learning. And eventually that compounds into some massive results.
Not only do you not spend $50K, $100K, $200K sunk cost on your learning, but I know my first couple of investment properties, I may not have made money, but when I've sold it, there's maybe only one property I can ever think of, and maybe I'm just lucky, but where I broke even or lost 10 grand, that's pretty cheap. That's a pretty cheap education.
Yes.
And usually you win. So it's worth getting and here you can learn all the things and not make the mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you all this too. Start. If you can't afford it, get a partner. Could be a parent, could be a child, could be a partner, person, right? Split the cost. All right. You don't have to buy the $1 million property. Remember, Jeff, the one guy who was excited because his daughter bought something for like 80 grand or something in Navarre or whatever. Remember this?
Uh-huh.
Right. Start with the one at 80 grand somewhere in Cedar Rapids. I don't care. Wherever it is. Right. Wherever you are.
Be creative. You don't have to have the money. You
need the down payment. And even then you might not even need a down payment if you get some owner financing or something.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of ways of doing it. You come up with the 3% maybe, and do an FHA or, conventional. There's some, but here's the other thing. I did one property where I didn't have the credit. So as a realtor, my down payment was the commission of 3%. And I had somebody else and I got owner financing. So there's 0 right there. And that's one way of doing it as a realtor. But the other thing that you can do is maybe you split it with someone who has the money and you have the knowledge and you go find the property. And then when you sell it, they have a higher percentage of ownership. Or, work out the ownership with somebody where the profit and the loss is a percentage of, the profit or the loss. But if you don't have the money, give somebody more higher percentage ownership. Start.
Money will always go to a great deal. I mean, you can find the money if it's a great deal.
Yeah.
Start.
It is better if it's your money, because if you don't have skin in the game, you're not as vested, and you need to be vested to get the knowledge. And the knowledge is the most important part. The knowledge is what ultimately ends up being profit. If you're doing it with someone else's money, you might not gain the knowledge because you're not as interested. You're not as worried about losing it. You have to be worried about losing.
So the question is this. Ask yourself, win the day. This is going to be win your life. Write down when you leave here, how can I buy an investment property? My first, my next, I don't care, whatever. How can I buy an investment property such that it's not going to cost me anything on a month to month, right? It's not going to impact my liquidity because I need that, especially now. It's going to pay for itself. How can I buy that? All right. You're probably not going to know. All right. Unless you're in the know, and good for you. But if you don't know, it doesn't mean you can't. It just means you don't know. You got a little bit of a journey to go on. So ask yourself, write it down. How am I going to buy my next property or my first property? Right. And 1 through 10. I bet you can find 10 ways to finance it. Right. Come up with those 10, exhaust all of them, and then write down the next 11 through 20. You're going to find a way to do it because it's a mentality. It's a mindset, like Mark was saying. Once you get that going, especially as a real estate professional, and you're out there bumping into stuff left and right. That's how I got my first one. I bumped into it. I guess in my second one, we bumped into it. So when you leave here today, write down, how am I going to buy my next property? 1 through 10. And by buy, I mean finance it. Okay. And just go to AI, go to carltonsheets.com, go to wherever there's going to be a bunch of rabbit holes, and you're going to start to learn. And then the next thing you write down and say, number 2, how am I going to do this by January 1, December 31st, 2024? Right? Give yourself a time frame. I got 6 months. In the next 6 months, how am I going to buy my next property, my first property? Okay.
And I'll say one thing that's very simple that you should work on right now, if you haven't already. You're going to have a much easier time and all of this if you have a high credit score. So work on your credit score if you don't have a good credit score, because, like a DSCR loan, debt service cover, I can't remember if that's
credit ratio.
Okay. That's based on having a good credit score. And then it's, does the rent cover the cost, and a couple of other factors. You can do it with 0 down. And as a realtor, remember, you've already got that built in. Now I know things are changing, but you can negotiate this. You've already got that built in buyer compensation as an agent, whether it's 2, 2.5%, 3%. So save the rest of it, and then get the closing cost covered by the seller. Finance it.
Here, I'm going to give you another thing, Jeff. Correct me if I'm wrong here. It's the cash flow. Make sure it cash flows. I don't care if you would stay in it. I don't care if it's your ideal property. I don't care if it's the perfect thing. No, you need to care. Is it going to cash flow? It's going to cost me anything on a month to month. I have properties that I won't stay at because I'm a hoity-toity loser now. But I don't care. I see so many investors, I don't like this, or it doesn't have that. I'm like, well, hold on, pause. Are you ever going to stay in here? No. Well, then what the hell do you care, right? All you care about is, does it have this and will it cash flow? Oh, I guess you're right. Right? Are you with me on this, Jeff?
Yeah, you're providing housing for others.
Yeah. You're not buying your dream house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're building wealth. So you're buying an asset. You're not buying It's like when you rent a car or whatever. Just give me something that, in my view, you just give me something that's going to get me from here to there. What's that, Mark?
Well, Gene Rivers is doing a millionaire real estate investor class on July, I think it's 18th in Panama City Beach. So he's a
Good
master.
chance right there.
Yeah.
I'll break it down for you guys. AI, Google, whatever. How do I buy my first property? You're going to get on bigger pockets. You're going to go somewhere. You're going to find more than you need. And then do what they say. Then you can start looking. You're going to find one. You're going to go for it. And you're going to be like, it's not going to work out. And you're going to learn why it didn't work out. And then you're going to make your adjustments. Then you're going to go for the next one. Maybe that one doesn't work out. Then you go for the third one. And all of a sudden, Christmas time rolls around and your gift to yourself is going to be this new property you have. How cool is that going to be, right? Such that in 30 years, you're going to have this valuable asset that somebody else paid for that's throwing off cash flow that's going to allow you to go to Cancun, Mexico, like Jeff Adams.
And then you can be like Jeff and retire.
Right.
Ride your bike every day.
Yeah. You can be like Jeff and retire and only work 60 hours a week.
Rain.
But one of the things that I did, and it's different now, probably the percentages, but I did the rental income had to be 10% of the selling price or purchase price.
Okay. So you had your criteria. Perfect.
Oh,
You
yeah.
had your criteria.
So that's when you use the MLS to hunt for you, and it pops up these properties. And then we bought. Now things are different, a little different now for sure, price wise. I wish if I would have kept them, they'd be worth. They would have been worth a lot more than when I sold them. But we were renting them for $50-some thousand, and the purchase price was $300,000.
Love it.
The thing I would say that you just said, Jeff, is this is a nugget. How many times have you heard an investor say, I'm so glad I sold that? Now, there are some that are dumps and there's crap and, maybe, but the reality is most of the time you're like, I wish I would have hung on to every last one of them.
Every one of them.
Or 1031 exchange them into something else. You kind of like, I wish I never would have taken any cash out ever because you're for sure doing well if you keep everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the biggest nugget of it all. Start. Planning to get ready, to go, to do, start.
Yeah. John and I talked about this off camera before. It's everybody, they like to, they intend to, and they never get to it because they give up and do this I'm going to live now thing that we were talking. So I don't mean give up your life, and certainly don't do that. But there are ways that we talked about to get to this process, to get started. And once you get started, the next one, and the next one, people are coming. They'll give you the money. People will come to you, and they'll easily finance whatever you do.
Yep.
So
very cool.
Easier. But so the first one's hard.
Yep.
If you can rent, you can buy. My daughter right now is trying to find a property she's 19, around ASU, Tempe. We're in Scottsdale. And some of these places, what they want for the first and last month's rent, plus a month of for security deposit, plus this, plus that. And I'm like, that's a down payment on a house. Please buy something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a down payment. Just, it might not be the house you want to live in. Buy a duplex, live in one side, rent the other.
There are people, that's their model. They only buy properties around colleges for obvious reasons. Sure. John got started doing that. That can work.
I made a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When you leave here today, write down, how am I going to buy my next property? And by that, I mean finance it, 1 through 10. Okay. AI, Google, the library, whatever. Ask. You're going to find.
If questions, come back here. There's a ton of knowledge right here.
Just do it. And then because we need a shift in a mindset here. Well, I don't have enough money now, but when I get enough, look out, I'm going to go buy 2 things. No, you're going to start today. We're going to go figure out how we're going to buy our next one today. And we're going to give ourselves till January 1st, December 31st to do it. Okay. And you're going to talk to lenders. You're going to start looking. Your antenna's going to be up. And what you're going to have to do is start erasing this. I'm going to do it later. No. I don't have enough. Erase that. I'll work forever. Erase that. It takes too much. Erase that. I'm going to go on this trip or buy this rehab. I'm going to do all this, spend all this big money now because I'll never be able to afford an investment. Erase that. Just erase that shit from your, clean that off. Start now, right? Leave here. Work hard today because you want a big weekend. These are big days before holidays. This is when you win because a lot of people, I think somebody put on here, somebody's not working or something. Linda, my clients are off tomorrow, so I'm not showings and listing appointment.
So she's not off.
But she's not off. Okay.
She's going to go on a showing and a listing appointment on the 4th.
Linda stepping up. We love that. Okay. So good. Great job, Linda. But y'all, Destiny, I'm talking to you.
I'm listening. Soaking it all in.
All right. In the destinies of the world, all y'all, everyone, me, I'm looking for my next one because I know the market, the swell, I can see the swell of the wave is starting to grow. And Gary says this is when you really start to get aggressive with this shit and you buy. You start buying. You get these certain opportunities and you buy like freaking Pac-Man.
Yeah, well, I'm looking in Tulum, Mexico.
Yeah, right. The people in the know are looking. The people who wish are planning their next vacation or whatever.
With the
and you know, John, along those lines that you just said, you know, when you say, you know, stop the vacation, people think they need to have a whole bunch of money all at once. I need, you know, 1,000, 10,000. No, stay at the Super 8 instead of the Ritz. Take that difference.
It's a mindset.
You know, stop buying a latte every day.
Just like
and make
Legion.
your coffee at home and put that money in your savings account. It's all the little savings things. Pay off your car and take your car payment and put that in a savings account.
Yeah.
Buy a junker and drive that you can pay cash for instead of driving the Tesla. You know,
Joanne and I
That's how you
talked
get your
about
money.
this early. Yeah.
So here, I'm going to tell you a little something because I just did a video on this. 30 years ago, the median sales price for a condo in Destin, Florida, Miramar Beach was $125,000. Okay. Today it's $600,000. All right. So if you would have bought a condo 30 years ago, you'd have 360 months of somebody else paying this thing. So you'd have your condo be paid for. So you have $600,000 asset. This is on the median, right? You have $600,000 asset that's throwing off what, $60,000, $70,000 a year. Okay. And let's just say over the course of those 360 months, you made, I don't know, $500 or over those 30 years, if you made, how did I work out? Yeah. If you made an extra $500 a month off your rentals, okay, that's $6,000 a year. A lot of investors say that's not enough. I'm not going to do it. But if you took those $500 a month for 360 months and just directly deposited them into an ETF account over all this time, that value over time would be worth about $740,000 right now. So if 30 years ago you bought your first property that cost $125,000, and you came up with 10%, 10 grand or whatever it was, for 10 grand you'd be sitting on now what $1,345,000 that's throwing off $50,000 to $60,000. That's how you retire, and you didn't miss it the whole way, right? That was audit. It was done. That's in the background. That's your retirement plan. If you would have done that. Now I get all these dumbasses.
Yeah.
Oh, I get all these dumbasses commenting. Oh yeah, like I bought when I was 4 years old. How am I going to do that? No, you stupid dope. It's if you buy now.
No,
what if you buy now? 30 years from now, self is going to love you. Well, it's too expensive. Yeah, I bet everybody paying $120,000, $125,000 30 years ago thought they were spending a fortune.
Yeah.
Right? Just the same way our fortune is today. So people, please, please, please. And then the number of people said, oh my God, I'm so lucky I did that. Oh my God, I'm so lucky my parents did that. Oh my God, you're absolutely right. Be in the second group, people. Be in the second group, right? So let's go. That's how you're going to win the week. You're going to win your life. Today, though, let's finish hard. Work until you're done today. Don't give yourself an out. And then go home over the weekend. How am I going to buy my next property? Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's go to work, people. Let's have some fun doing it too, all right?
Happy
Bye,
4th.
guys.
Happy 4th.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Happy 4th.